Is there only one way to do a ritual? Stick around and we'll talk about it. Hi everybody, and welcome back to another video by Pan Society. I'm Cherie, and recently I had a scenario come up and it gave me a lot of pause for thought, so I thought I'd share it with you guys. I have some dear friends that are related to each other that are just now following a natural path and delving into some paganism. They're not entirely sure which path they're heading towards yet, and that's okay because it's all about discovery, right? Like that trail and that journey getting there. But the big question was, they were getting ready to do their first big ritual, and this was for the full moon that we just recently had. But it ended up not going so well because they ended up fighting because they had two different ideas on what they were doing and how they were going to do it. So the question came up was, is there only one way to do a ritual? Short answer, no. There's so many different ways. There's so many different items that have the same correspondences or the same meaning. There are so many different styles, different ideologies, modalities. There's so many different ways to get to the same point. So it's just being respectful of that and then finding the one that's better for you. And truthfully, say you're doing the same ritual, the same spell, the same workings, you're going for the same end or the means, or the same outcome. But you're going to find different ways to get there because maybe you don't have an object or an item or an ingredient, so you have to improvise, right? So that's doing the same ritual or going for the same thing but not in the same way. So I think it kind of brings up another point on solitary practitioner or with a group. The biggest problem with my dear friends is one is very intuitive, will go with the flow, not in a rush to do anything, and the other one is very studious, loves to do research, has to have everything down in an order and the way it's going to work, and both methods are okay and both types of people are okay. It's just finding what works for you individually and then figuring out a compromise together, or agreeing that maybe possibly doing one's ritual this time and doing the other person's ritual next time, because you're not only going to be doing one in your lifetime, right? So if that doesn't work, maybe you guys are better off doing rituals separately. The thing that broke my heart about this is they're using this as a bonding tool and to hopefully become closer to each other, which is fantastic. So I think it's all going to come down to compromising and working together. The biggest thing I think they were stressing over was that this was their first big ritual, that it was a big time they had been thinking about for a while, but I think they took too long to work it out. So it's breaking down the ideology of ritual. I know the person that is very studious and needs to have it worked out ahead of time may possibly have a thought in their head of what an actual ritual is, like that it's just this whole organized thing, which they can be, but also not thinking in smaller terms that every day the habits that you have are rituals. You know, making your tea first thing in the morning or brushing your teeth or taking a shower, these are rituals. You do these every day. Ritual just means a repetitive action. So, keeping that in your head and then not stressing out over the fact that it has to go completely perfectly, because it's life, it's nature. We can't account for everything. So it's easier to be able to just let things be and go with the flow, because what's meant to be will be, right? But I can see how frustrating it can be when you're working with someone who has a very open workflow, and so you don't know if they're going to come through or not. So it can be kind of a little frustrating and hard to work with that. And so learning each other's methods and how you're going to compromise and do this. So maybe have a sit down and, you know, I'm in charge of this and you're in charge of this, and we'll make it work together. Other than that, like, it can be as elaborate and simple, or as simple as you want it or need it to be. Oh, the other idea too, I think the studious person has, is that I think the being afraid of failure or being afraid of doing something wrong, and I'm not quite sure it works that way. I think there's a lot behind intention and manifestation. So if your intent and your heart is in a good place, then you're not, you know, I think she's afraid of like opening the gates of hell or something. And that's just not how it works. It's just, you know, it all comes down to, you can't accidentally mix ingredients or mix things and do something really far crazier, you know, crazy like that has nothing to do with what you were trying to do in the first place. So I think getting that fear out of the way helps as well. So no, not one way to do a ritual for a specific thing. It is possible to work together because moon circles are done in groups, and you know, there's covens and other groups that work together and do magical workings together. It's just finding a compromise and then finding what works between the people that are trying to do something together. So do you guys do rituals with other people? Are you solitary practitioners? Comment down below, let me know. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe. And thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. I'll see you next time in another Pan video.